Those are the best pedals ever produced for sim racing use, there is no question about it, and they are also the most expensive, but the real question is, are they twice as valuable as the price suggests? Well, I will try to give you enough information, and hopefully at the end of the video you will come with your own personal conclusion. But first, the necessary disclaimer. Simucube sent those here for test content and review purposes, and I'm warning you. I will be stupidly positive, probably in every possible way, simply because those can do literally everything as a pedal set, and I mean everything. Let's start from the beginning. Why you should buy those for such a premium price? Well, let's dive in the experience and see why those are the best ever made. Just very briefly for those who don't know how those works, basically there is actuator like those used in motion rigs responsible for the movement, tension and all the different effects through bolt screw which move the pedal system. In the middle of the main arm is this load cell which will measure the pressure we apply to the pedal. I will come back at the end of the video and talk more about the hardware, as for me personally the most important part of any hardware is the actual experience in use, and it was just important to understand how it's achieved here. So, it is all about this actuator and the insane software which in combination can recreate anything ever existed as a brake, throttle, clutch system in real world or any sim racing pedal ever made on the market. Hydraulic, elastomer, spring filling with damper kit, short travel, long travel, progressive or linear pressure with curve or without, you name it. Anything we want to fill from kilo to 150 and travel up to 8 cm can be recreated with absolute precision. Professional drivers and teams can absolutely replicate their cars, but also sim enthusiasts can take advantage and hack their own weak spots in driving inputs, creating specific profiles to optimize their own muscle memory. And that's only the beginning. The actuators can produce different effects as ABS and traction control activation, plus few more very cool effects I will explain in a minute, which totally transform the entire experience. So, let me show you how simple it is to create your own perfect pedal or replicate the one in your car. Starting with the brake pedal, this is my personal profile I came with based on my preferences, knowing my weak spots, optimizing the pressure, the curve of the pressure, the dead zone on the bottom, the exact travel for the perfect weight transfer for the cars, the smoothness in compression. Basically everything is made to fit my like but also cover my weak spots. For example, the dead zone on the bottom is made to make sure I have fully released the brake, because I found in the telemetry I often rest my feet on the pedal without realizing I still have few percentage input and don't allow the car to turn properly in. The curve is made to be around 50 kilo pressure at around 85% input, which for iRacing is about the optimal pressure, and in the last 20% exponentially the pedal require another 35 kilo in short travel if I need that. And that way I can clearly feel and hit the 80-85% consistently at 50-55 kilo without getting any fatigue for hours. The 27mm travel is also very carefully chosen for me specifically, which helps with the timing under trial braking to rotate perfectly the car. The added dumping in compression slows down my initial input just enough and create that more on the hydraulic side feeling. That being said, take notice, all this, as I've said, is carefully created to cover my own weak spots, which I know very well, and it's not some universal perfect settings. When we talk about feeling, things are very subjective. The cool part is I made the almost perfect brake for me in few mouse clicks, just knowing what I'm looking for. I have tested briefly profiles from other guys and none of those fit my personal like. It is important to find and know what works the best for you and not blindly follow other drivers' preferences. As I've said, those can do whatever we can imagine, and here is how. First, choose the purpose of the pedal, in this case brake, choose the position of the arm, which we'll explain later, position of the arm extension, and calibrate. From here we can create also the angle of the pedal. You can see in that position of the arm the maximum pressure of the actuator is up to 120 kilo, and if we turn this part upside down will be up to 150. On this side we can choose the total load. On the left side is the preload, which stops the pedal moving before we apply the required force. On the bottom is the travel of the pedal itself from 5 mm to 8 cm, and then we have the end stop feeling for both directions, and then is the damping, again separately for both directions. And that option here is like dead zone of the pedal movement separately for top and bottom. Now let's try to create a profile. Let's say you don't like travel but want to push a brick. Pull the travel down to 5 mm at 120 kilo and you are done. You can add some curve to slow or accelerate the input, and in 3 clicks the brick is ready. Let's say now you are like me and prefer travel and hate hard pedals or have knee injury. No problem. Give some travel, pull down the total force and ready. That feels like linear spring now. To make it more like hydraulic, add some damping and compression. Now it feels like moving fluid. If we add some damping and release, we'll slow down the return just like damper kit does. As I am just resting my feet, I already apply some force, so we'll add some preload till the rest of my feet doesn't move the pedal at all. That now is very smooth light experience, but let's take it on another level. As I've said, I want to feel different stage of the pressure and most importantly hit specific percentage consistently. Let's create some curves. There are already some on the top, but I strongly suggest to do your own for your perfect like. There are 6 points we can work with. I want, for example, at 80% travel to hit 80% input at around 50 kilo for most of my hard braking zones. I will work at that pressure and never get fatigue or pain, and for the last 20% I will have to press way harder. So we'll pull the overall strength to 80 kilo, and now we'll pull down the first 5 points in the correct position. This now feels more like a real brake with linear compression in the beginning of the movement and then going progressively stiffer with less movement. With those few sliders and curve points, everything is possible, guys, from mimic your flappy pedal on your real car to perfect sim settings for your very personal preference and cover your own weak spots. If that is not enough, we can further adjust the input signal, like slow it down or fast up through curve mapping, but I don't personally suggest that very much. You can tweak that only if you know very well what you're looking for in the telemetry. In my opinion, through my experience with so many pedals, those features already make this pedal as a brake the best ever existed, as it can mimic everything ever produced, but we are not done yet, as another very important complement to the experience is the feedback. First one is motor vibration, which I personally don't use as I am running on 3-DOF motion, but it is possible to simulate quite well the different RPMs. This I will rate mostly on the gimmick side. It's fun but not important. However, the ABS is different story. When I first tested those year and a half ago, I was blown away. Now for some sims like ACC may not be that important, but for iRacing can be the most important feature we will ever get for cars with ABS. I have explained how ABS activation can destroy the entry of the corner. But trail braking, the ABS kicks, brings some of the weight back. Now we have completely different weight distribution, and we totally lose that initial rotation around the axis. That's called bad trail braking. I'm sure many will want to know what's the difference between the Simagic haptic motors, which, as you know, I love a lot, and as they both feel equally fast in response time. With the Simucube pedals, the experience is way smoother and quieter. There is literally no sound produced from the Simucube, and instead of feeling hits underneath with the active pedal in low frequency, which I like the most, I feel the pedal relax under my feet, which also relaxes the input instantly, as we can see in the telemetry. They are both absolutely awesome and super intuitive in driving. They both do incredible job to help finding the limits, just Simucube feels smoother and quieter. In my opinion, the best feature for sim pedals period for cars with ABS. The traction control will cover with the throttle pedal, and then there is G-force effect, which feels fun, but I have to explore that further before I create full opinion. And many ask for brake lockups effects for cars without ABS, but for me that feature is not very helpful. The problem is when I lock up it's already too late and the effect just tells me something I already know. I mean, it is not exactly information which I can use, but mostly statement of the mistake I already make. That being said, the next effect is something I found very useful for those cars, and that's the threshold effect. I can easily check in practice at what percentage I lock up the tires on the heavy braking zones and set the effect just below that threshold and hit consistently the pressure to optimize my braking distance. The pedal just tells me when I hit that threshold, and that is way more useful effect than lockup. And of course, for all those effects there is frequency and intensity control to fit personal likes. I have to admit, as a brake pedal with all those features and effects is absolute. Just it is. This thing is just limited from the games. Let's check it as a throttle now. Same procedure here. In configuration settings we select it as a throttle, choose the correct arm position and calibrate the sensor. Here the current 120 kPa of the actuator goes wasted, as I personally use less than 6 kg for my comfort, but all the settings are available and I can transform the pedal to anything I wish to match my personal like or mimic again the real car. As hardcore sim racer, of course I try to optimize my performance, and the reason I choose curved compression is again to feel where the 80% of the input is. Through telemetry of some top drivers we found they use mostly that much input of the initial exit of the corner and later push to the max. I also add some damping to slow the compression a bit, but I want the pedal fast in release for better weight transfer control. Again, the ultimate goal for me is to correct the problems I have in my inputs, knowing the mistakes I do through telemetry of my laps. Remember, the pedals can do anything we ask, but the most important part is to have full understanding what are the problems we personally have. If you take my profile, for example, your driving may become total mess, as you may have built totally different input muscle memory and have completely different weak spots. In the question, will those pedals make us faster? The answer is complex, and I would say it depends. As you can see, they can do anything we ask, and I mean anything. The problem is, do we know what exactly we want? For example, I know when I drive under pressure in trial braking I don't fully release the input and kill the initial rotation of the car, so I will add some dead zone, just enough to clean that input, and one problem solved. Next one is I want to feel the optimal braking threshold at around 80% and hit that consistently, so I will add curve and will clearly feel that point, but if I need 100%, as I do in some places, I can modulate with just adding extra pressure with small travel. Talking about travel, it is also very carefully chosen for my own habits, just to slow down enough the input and let me rotate the car. Little more travel, slow the rotation, and little less travel, make the weight transfer too aggressive. And also, I'm driving cars with ABS and checking the telemetry again, I found low frequency feedback, release the pedal which released the input and optimize a bit the braking process. And under stress, I know I'm a bit impatient with the throttle, so I add some curve to feel clearly at what stage of the input I am on the exit, and bit damping in compression to slow my movement. Unfortunately, iRacing doesn't output the traction control telemetry, but in other sims that feedback can help enormously the understanding of the car behavior and tweak the input or the TC level. So, as you can see, everything is chosen with purpose around my habits to help me feel comfortable and hit consistent times. I did some Sebring tests, doing my best with the settings built around my weak spots and input problems, and then loading different profile, my times were all over the place and few tenths slower. That's not because my settings are better, but because are optimized around my driving. As always, what will make us faster is the understanding and awareness. If we know exactly what our problems are, we can try to work around our movements, timing, or build new muscle memory around the gear we have through hard work, or we can dial the gear around those problems we have, which with those pedals is just work with the mouse. And as I've said before, those can do anything we want. My point is, do not expect to attach those to your rig, load my profile or anyone else and beat your times. You may be lucky if that happens, but what are the chances to have exactly my driving style or my bad habits? That being said, the initial question of that video about the value and if those justify the insane price, I will say again, it depends. The pedals on themselves are better than anything else ever built and can do whatever we wish. They can be from Logitech floppy pedals to the best ever existed and anything in between with few mouse clicks. They can produce important feedback, and that's just the beginning. And if you use them as a practicing tool, you can mimic your car as Daniel would do and polish your skills. Mathematically speaking, they are many times better than the best pedals I have tested till now in terms of settings adjustments, many times easier to make physical adjustments just with mouse, and they are active, can produce important feedback and have the best software. So, feature-wise, those are many times better and many times more expensive. Mathematically, it sounds logical, but how much value those features have to you personally is only up to you. But the fact is a fact. Right now, nothing comes even remotely close to those. On the physical side, there are also a few adjustments. The arm, which can be extended or turned upside down on this side and change the compression point of the main lever and add extra 30 kilo overall to the total strength. And the last one is on the pedal plate angle. I never needed to change those here on my rig as I found my comfortable position from the software settings. The build quality is on industrial level and Simucube are known as the best, which is not my opinion but opinion from the sim community, and the 5 years warranty says a lot. I would prefer a bit wider plate on the brake and a bit longer for the throttle, but they have already options on their website and I will order those and talk about when test the non-active throttle in the next few weeks before make video about it. Again, this part here is the actuator responsible for the resistance of the pedal and the feedback. It moves bolt screw to which is attached the arm. In between is the load cell, which measure the feed force against the actuator, and the hardware may look simple, but all the magic comes from the software, which tells the actuator how to behave. This tech is absolutely brilliant, and the guys from Simucube found the best way to implement it as pedals. One negative part some people point for throttle application is that mechanical friction in the movement. When I first tested those on the Expo almost 2 years ago, I never realized there is friction, but now driving with those at home, I found why. Some people said they feel that friction, but in my case, when I isolate myself from the sound, I feel totally smooth movement, but if I take my headphones, I believe I'm feeling friction. I guess because the Expo was noisy environment, I never felt any friction at all. I think that is my in-game and only the sound from the pedal gives me the impression of friction, and as soon as I close my ears, even giving conscious attention to the movement, it feels absolutely smooth. If you have those, please, can you test that? Just close your ears and try to feel the friction, because I can't, and to me feels as smooth as normal spring pedal. That being said, the normal size can become a problem if space is tight. Those are huge, and with the sticking cables behind can extend the length of your rig by a lot. I have some space, but if you don't, can be a problem. You may need like 30 cm plus extra space with those. You may also get away without a mounting plate, but will probably be way more optimal solution with it. It is built for those and easy to assemble. The packaging is also very strong, with each pedal coming in strong protective case for safe travel with all the cables, tools, bolts and instructions. It was definitely pleasant unboxing and assembly experience. I won't dive in the technical aspect, as that is something you can read in the website, and as a driver, for me the actual experience in use is the most important part. The numbers are impressive, but what really matters is the 5 years warranty for such an expensive investment, and as you saw in the first part of the video, those can become anything just working with the mouse. The value is absolutely there, but remember, they can make you faster only if you tweak them properly for yourself. Also, just getting feedback means nothing if you don't know how to use that information. If you don't understand what is wrong with your driving inputs, you won't be able to tweak the settings and cover your mistakes. Simucube are just giving the perfect tool, but it's up to you how we'll use it. It will be a fun experience for sure, but to take full advantage we'll need a bit deeper understanding of yourself. None of the profiles from the guys worked for me, and I'm sure my settings won't work for them as well. That being said, I will start testing the non-active throttle, but in my opinion, if you saw the value and can afford 2 active pedals and willing to spend time to tweak them perfectly for yourself, or you're a race driver and want to polish your skills, mimic your real car, just go for it. Those are the best and will remain the best for years to come. Really top work from Simucube, and they totally deserve the support from the community for pushing the sim world to the next level. I am sure they will find a way to bring some more affordable active pedal model with lower specs at some point, as it looks like that's the future of racing simulation. That being said, you have to remember, those are the perfect tool ever created for sim use, but it will be up to you how we'll use it. Tools doesn't make you master, but the understanding how to use it. The guys from Simucube have created something crazy, but will you take advantage is entirely up to you.